Hello, my loves. Yes, we are live. Okay, I have a little bit of a juicy surprise for you today. I am giving you some real life stories, real life story time. We love to see it. Love a good story. Love to tell a good story, but I'm not going to be doing the storytelling today. I am actually going to be talking to a fellow energetic success baddie, and we're going to talk about what energetic success looks like in your real life, because I think there's so much value in being able to say, and I mean, I learn from this all the time, to look at someone else and someone else's story and to be like, okay, I see how they showed up there, or what that thing did, or how that worked for them, or okay, now I understand what that could look like in my life. So I'm going to be taking on a special guest to talk about it with you. The replay will be up on YouTube. I will post it there later and share it in the Instagram. So if you are popping on and you're like, I can't watch this right now, do not fear. The link will be up on YouTube afterwards. So let's just see if my girl is ready to join. And then we will get going. Just gonna wait for you to request to join me up here, Mikaela. I see you. I see you're on. Mikaela, actually, oh, there we go. I was gonna start talking about her for her, but.
Hey, now
Hi. Now we have it. I was like, I can talk to myself all day. I don't think anyone else wants to hear me talk to myself.
No. Just all good. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Thank you so much for joining me. I think, is this the first time that we're doing a
We've
live
been
on here together?
For a long time, but
I think so.
the stars aligning.
The stars are aligning. We have so much to talk about and so much to share, but we're gonna talk about like some real life stories today, because I feel like that's always so entertaining and so easy to follow and to be like, yeah, I see that. I see how that works, and like that's what I want in my life, or that's how I can get that thing. So we're going to talk about the energetics of success today specifically. And you have a lot of experience with this. You talk about this a lot in your work as well. We talk about this together all the time. But yeah, it's like a very big element for how we create and how we achieve things in our life. And I feel like a great place to start is just like a little intro, like let us know who you are, and then like what your perspective on energetics is what your perspective is, and yeah, the role that it plays for you in your life before we dive into like real life stories.
Love that. It's always so funny. I always think like, oh, I should prepare a presentation on myself. I always forget it. Something, So good. But I'm Mikaela, and I'm a business mentor and success, and it's all about helping high achievers finding more balance and a sustainable life, living in this high with so many impressions and opinions that are put upon ourselves can really make it really hard for us with our true authentic selves. And how do we shed layers of really truly being who we are, right? And that is, I mean, we have to like come to the conclusion that we are energetic beings, right? We are all consistent out of energy. We are all very connected. We all sense each other. We all feel each other, right? Coming in the room, we feel a vibe, and that I think about as energy and how we feel about certain different things are also energy, right? And depending on our perception, that is going to change. And that is actually, I think, where we have the control, right? That's where we can do the job. We can learn to control the controllables. And that is our perception. Perception. And our
yeah,
actions and our
totally.
thoughts and our beliefs and our how we interact with the world, literally. And this is what creates all the difference in the world, right? So
Yeah.
answer to
I
your
love it.
question,
I love
yeah.
it. And I think you answered my question. I think you fully answered my question. I mean, that's why I wanted you to say it in your words, because I think like there's so many different ways that we can experience energy for ourselves, and like words that might resonate differently with someone else. And like I talk about it in one way, but then you have a different definition. And it's, of course, it's like the same in the sense that like the energy is the same thing, but it totally hits home with someone differently. It's like that epiphany moment where you're like, oh my God, it's so basic, but now I've just heard it in a different way, and now it totally makes sense to me in a way that it didn't before. And so I think, yeah, to your point, we are all energy, and that's how we understand ourselves within this world. And like on a conscious level, we kind of shove it aside because it's not at the forefront of how society is run. And so it's like, whatever. But at our core, it's who we are, and it's how we on a subconscious and internal level actually understand ourselves and relate to one another. And I think what you said, which was so good too, is like what like the things around us are also energy. So like the things that we want to achieve, the goals that we have also have an energy to them. And like if we're feeling good in our bodies and feeling good within our energy and managing our energy, then that's going to be positively affecting the way that we quite literally like magnetize the thing that we want to create and bring into our life.
Exactly. That's how it is. I just realized on do not disturb, and it's probably like buzzing and like those kind of things. But now I'm all
You're present. Got a present energy
no,
now.
It's really like it's just the most basic thing ever, right? Us with each other.
Yeah.
Those conversations and
totally
feeling drawn to one another and like resonating with one another, sharing the same life experience with one another. And it's all one.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So let's take it back to the beginning. And talk about what life looked like for you before incorporating energetics, because like that's kind of what we were just saying, right? Like on a conscious level, a lot of times we don't think about this stuff, and it's not talked about on a daily basis, or like no one at work, for example, is talking in these terms. And so you're like, okay, this is like my woo-woo stuff that I just keep to myself and I do it when I'm at home or whatever, but like it's not really getting space in your life. So what was life like before energetics were a part of your life for you?
Really young age had some sort of awareness or some sort of like like inspiration or some sort of sense that there was something more we saw. Like I could myself as very like sensitive to people, and I could like what I understand now, like us like co-regulating each other and each other's kind of thing. I was very much aware that that was a thing happening from a really, really early age. But of course, not knowing myself and not knowing how to get to know myself and how to understand myself, life before, I mean, was very much trauma led, very much fear-based, very much on pilot kind of, because we pick up things as we live life, right? We see those examples portrayed like in front of us, how to interact with the world, how to handle these different situations, how to deal with this kind of people, or what is important in life, like me as a people pleaser, like being happy and present very polite and happy, very important to being. As I go into this more and more and understanding how interaction with the world was, I understood more and more that people pleasing to high achiever that I've become, and the performance anxiety and the overthinking and over analyzing everyone else's needs and like kind of guessing everyone else's need before they even themselves, like which drained me to like crazy It takes a lot of energy. Just understanding that was the protection strategies that my mind perceived as, well, this is the highest likelihood of life. It's being liked at all costs. It's like, sacrifice. It's like bending over backwards. Also like over sharing or over like giving away my energy when I have also to that. Like I would still show up to be what I as other one wanted me to be, and how that like completely threw me into this like, oops.
Literally.
Roller coaster. Like it was just a complete roller coaster of like having total momentum, total inspiration, feeling the fire in my chest, really wanted to like find my world and my purpose and make an impact, and like woo, and then like crashing down and burning. What is wrong with me? And like it's just it was just such an unsustainable way of living. Just these like I said, trauma response and feelings and triggers. And, I was all over the place. All over the place.
Yeah, and exhausting, like you said, like being on a high where you're like, I'm so excited to like start this new thing or do this job or like start this relationship, but like I'm giving all of my energy away without even really realizing it, because I've just been taught that this is how I'm supposed to show up and this is what's expected of me. So I get to the point then where I think I'm doing everything right, and then I try to do something to further myself in a particular direction, for example with work, and then I totally crash and burn, and then I'm left feeling frustrated because I'm wondering, well, why is this not working? And I'm not realizing all the different ways that I was actually like giving away my energy, but it wasn't necessarily because, I didn't want the success, but it was because, like you said, it was just that safety of like, well, as long as I'm liked, I'm going to be safe. And it's like, okay, but what is that actually taking away from me then in the long run when it comes to the things that I want to create?
Yeah. And also to see like how we, for me, and of like creating a more sustainable life is to see where do I take responsibility in ways I should not, not my circus, not my monkeys, like you do you. And starting to see that, and I mean mostly that was me taking responsibility for other people's feelings and triggers and emotions and experiences that I'm not, and that is just draining all my resources.
Totally. So how is this playing out for you then, like in terms of the things that you wanted to create in your life? Because like you said, when it came to like what you wanted to do then, you didn't have the energy left for it, and it was like this excitement feeling, but then like it's not sustainable for me to actually like run towards this thing or create momentum behind this thing. So can you give some examples of like what that looked like more in terms of then, like work and success?
Just something that just popped up in my mind was I was 19, graduated high school, which is like other, but kind of. And I studied music, so I agreed to move or to work as a show artist, kind of working in a hotel every evening. And that's so much my dream, and I so much felt like, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to put all the work in. I literally like listening to all the harmonies, practice steps, like night and day. I remember at like 5 a.m. that I had fell asleep with the harmonies on repeat. But I didn't.
Oh my goodness.
Long story short, it was not as functional as it could have been. Not functional at all. I completely overdid it. I injured myself. I still showed up, like kind of taped my knee, ripped my ACL is the name, right? But I actually didn't. Like I just and continued dancing. That was a good thing. But that's how strong my desire was to have the best I wanted, right? So willing to sacrifice myself. Really. And from that experience, didn't feel safe to show up in my dreams because I thought I would abandon myself in all external ways. Like to some degree, I did have that understanding that I wasn't feeling great at the time. Then with the pain I was putting myself through, and ripple into
literal
going
pain.
forward and creating more of my desires, more of my dreams. I really unlearned that experience of like I am safe with me. I will be here for myself. I will take care of myself and have health. And like still that is not that definition of success. That is not a necessary need to have success, right?
Right.
Yeah, and see how that plays out. And that's part of like I think is seeing how we have treated ourselves in the past. Just at that and how much pain that action can bring up and how much sorrow it can bring up to seeing like we did how we did that. That's part of the process of going through that and feeling right. But I mean it's to be able to take control of our lives and not being in this trauma fear based response and just a ripple effect in all directions.
Yeah. So if you were to summarize some of like the main elements of what was going on at the time, like I'll just say like what I'm hearing and like you tell me if it feels true, but like one is like self-abandonment, like abandoning yourself, putting others first, not making yourself a priority and potentially not even noticing that you're not making yourself a priority. Fear of maybe potentially like fear of success or like the fear of potentially burning yourself out for success because that's all you ever knew, not because it was necessarily true, but because the story in the past was abandon myself, give to everyone else, and then therefore when I try to do it, it doesn't work, but that must mean I just burn myself out because I'm working too hard only on this one thing. And is there another one that you would say?
I think
really
it was so much also like me wanting to see also for what I want others to perceive of me. So it was very much also from a place of not wanting to be as a failure.
Yeah. So also validation then. Like I want to be accepted and approved and validated by the people around me. How can I do that? But in so kind of like suppressing potentially your desires.
Yeah.
Or what you really wanted.
Needs. Like I needed to feel my knee. I didn't need to stand for a month. Not good.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so knowing those things, like those are kind of the core things. And I mean those are super, super they're not unique. No offense. I'm like listening and I'm like, yes, that was me. Yes, that was me. Like same. And I think also it's important to say like for a lot of us as women, that is a dominant story because like we are taught to be givers and we are often taught to be seen and not heard. And even if you have a different like childhood experience, this can be something that goes back generationally, like so many generations ago, because like that was quite literally just like the societal setup. And you get those belief systems and those energies, like we talked about before, passed down to you. So yeah, not unique in that sense. However, like that is not your reality anymore. So you've completely shifted that and you don't have that experience of like self-sabotaging and abandoning yourself and what was the last one that we talked? Approval, validation in that way anymore. Like it doesn't rule your life. So what does your life look like now? Like what is the reality for you?
I must say though that I think all those traits, all these things, all these challenges, they are still present. And they're showing up in the same way that they did then with my like let's say personal growth level that I was at then. They don't go away. I'm having my standards the ways, right? But now as I'm expanding, if I'm ever feeling ungrounded, a bad day, if something has happened that kind of challenges some way, those are the first things to show up. And I think that is, I just know, oh, these are my things. These are my bad friends. Oh, hi, you again. Fuck off.
It's you. But I love that you said that, because it's so true. Like, these things don't just go away, in the sense, like, you do release their control over your life. That's what shifts. And they don't run your life anymore, you do. And when something feels unsafe, because it felt unsafe back then, those same guys show up because they're like, oh, we know this energy. This is where we belong, in this energy. And it doesn't mean that you haven't dealt with it or that you haven't learned how to release it. It's just, like you said, noticing I'm in this situation, I'm expanding, I'm outside my comfort zone. It doesn't feel like safe, but is it a literal like danger safety issue, or is it just like I'm in a place of discomfort and I'm going to manage it, and I now know how to manage it and I have the tools? Because it's so true. Like, my default mode is control. Like, that is, anytime something happens, I'm like, holy shit, how can I fix this? And I have to be like, okay, how can we just sit with this first? And like, now knowing that you have the tools and knowing how to do it, like, that is actually a safe experience, and it actually feels safer than gripping to the control. But I love that you brought that up. So thank you for saying.
I really think that is the core of the work. What we never get done. Like, we're humans, we live life experience. It's not about eliminating anger. It's learning how to stand on anger and becoming aware when it spirals, and learning how to deal with it in a productive way. Show us something. It has some richness. It has some qualities, and learning how to make it support us, help us in the best way. Like, you know. So I think that's the work, and I think that is also the aftermath of it. After reality kind of thing, when you start becoming aware of what's going on inside of your mind and your body. Because I kind of look at 2 different things, or 3 different things. I have my intellectual self, I have my brain, I have my nervous system, and 3 have very different opinions.
Yes, they do.
Just simply learning that awareness to see what the fuck is going on there. What's going on in the ego mind? What's going on in that intellectual, adult, intellectual self kind of thing? And what's going on in my body? How's my body now reacting to the situation? And that is how we go into life and the situations and the expansion and building the life we are going to be like. We're going to be triggered. Totally. So learning happens. Learning, I think, is just all what it is, right?
Yeah. And I think I love what you just said, like the 3 parts. I think the sum of that equation is the energetics. Like, that creates the outcome of like, where am I at? What is my energetic state? How am I showing up in the world? How are these 3 parts working together? And like, this equation, the output of that equation is then me, like how I'm showing up, how I'm feeling, how safe I'm feeling, how much I'm able to create or achieve. And like, to what we talked about at the beginning with the energetics, like, that sum then is going to either align you or misalign you with the thing that you want. Like, being in a place of pressure and stress, new word, stressor. Being in that place, or being in like the pushing and the forcing and the trying to make it happen, or like the self-sacrificing in order to show up in a certain way because you think that's going to be what puts you in that place of acceptance, like gets you the success, like versus being in an energy of feeling really grounded, feeling really at peace, feeling really secure in what you're doing, feeling a sense of pleasure and fulfillment in your life. Like, those are 2 different outcomes of that 3-sum equation that also in turn give you 2 very different results, right? So like what shifted for you when you shifted out of like, and obviously like we talked about, it's a constant practice and it's not like this thing just goes away, but ultimately the one becomes more dominant, right? Like you get better and better at being in the sum equation of pleasure and enjoyment and fulfillment, that becomes the like more predominant state that you live in, and therefore the results that you get tend to align more with those. So like what does that look like for you?
Visual of like, because I'm being, and I always feel as those parts of me being meditating with, and I kind of, you know, want the 2-year-old to sit on my lap. Will the 2-year-old sit on my lap? Shut up, run away, and I'm like, come back, and then sit down for maybe like 20, happy, like, and then we'll run away again. So it's like, it's all about maintaining that sense and like grounded in seeing all our triggers happening, all our like both from a mental of like the thoughts, beliefs, stories ourselves, like we recognize this story doesn't like this story doesn't help me, doesn't support me. It can be like I'm a worthless piece of shit. Is that supporting me in any way? No. I feel my breath shortening. I feel my heart start beating more rapidly. I can feel a stress response is activated in my body. And necessarily that is a lion looking at me wanting to take a bite, but there's something else that my system is perceiving. So simply just seeing those triggers and symptoms as that child in my lap, standing up and wanting to run away, and just have that patience with myself and like, come back, come back, come back. So literally it's to balance the nervous system whenever those triggers of stress, even though there's no danger, right? Come back to the person and the best state of mind, so that we can be enjoying and like literally it's physically impossible to enjoy being state like the sympathetic nervous system. We can't feel lust, we can't feel creativity, we can't any sort of enjoyment, right? Because that's not prioritized. Running away from the lion. Bring to the that's what will get us into the tree, or lions can climb
somewhere safety.
But also that and reprogram our minds, because our beliefs are simply just thoughts that's been thought several thousand times. We have this neuroplasticity that allows us to reprogram, right? Ingrain new perspectives. And I think that is the work when you come out on the other side, that you elevate in all, because you raise the bar of what you want life to be, right? So that's what I mean. Like totally. At every level, this work comes, and it's so essential to become really strong in practice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another great point. We've talked about this, which is like really enjoying the success that each level brings, because the work is going to continue. Like inevitably what the subconscious mind is programmed to do is for us to always strive for the next thing. Like what is like, once we're not in a place of fight, flight, freeze, fawn, like in the survival state, there's danger. It's like, okay, now I can thrive. What's the next thing that I want to create? What's the next thing that I want to do? And sometimes we can get caught up on the other side of that, which is just like creating, and not actually being in the pleasure of enjoyment. Like it's the cliched phrase of like, it's about the journey, not the destination. And everyone's like, haha, yeah, whatever. And it's like, no, but seriously, that's actually what it's about. And so like, you know, last year when you joined me inside my Rest for Success course, and like we talked all about these energetics, like kind of also this element of pleasure and being in your body and slowing down, and how do we create space in our lives and stuff like that. Like I would love for you to like share like your real life examples of what has shifted for you and like what this reality does look like. Because yeah, of course, there's always that next level, and like inevitably the triggers are gonna come up, and that's like part of the work. And also, how do we enjoy what we've created now? Because ultimately, like the more we enjoy where we're at, the more we can expand into that next level from that place of like pleasure.
I mean, yes, course was so good of just bringing on like all the perspectives in this, because this is not something we talk about all the time, right? Like see how it plays out in our lives, and how and like you say, even success that we have, and how do we allow ourselves to have the success. I finally manifested. I've done it a couple of times. But I got myself back to Spain. Like my dream for so long has been, you know, to when half of the year or the winter then in Spain. I got myself to Spain last year. Great success, and like my goal of that success was the ocean. And we're talking and going through this all like, and I realized that fuck, I'm not spending any time on the beach. But I'm not going to the beach. Why am I going to the beach? Yeah, because all the views, all the things I think do to show up, kind of thing. And yeah, so it's so interesting how like also when we manifest the things that we want. For example, another thing that I have, like everything from like the more easy my business, and feeling more fun, feeling more free in my life, and showing up the way it is. That has been something that completely shifted, and that's more clients and revenue and kind of like all these kind of things, right? I also moved to London at the time, which has been like so much better than I actually thought. And to the first point that we talked about, like allowing ourselves to feel success, right? Because our latest like checkbox is a townhouse here in London, and it's the cutest thing ever. It's nothing like out of the very cute, like really, but like parts of me feel when I'm here. I was like, what have I done to deserve this? Allowed to be here, like worthy of this. Oh, I don't dare to show people. Like I don't dare to invite people to my home, or like thought crossed my mind of like not wanting to like Instagram story like show like that would be something bad. I did something being, and just seeing how that I had a stress response in my body because I'm experiencing. That's wild, right? That success that I've worked so hard to create is perceived as.
But I think that's so good, because I think you have so much awareness. Like you have been doing this work for a really long time, and like so much has come into your life, like whether it be, you know, being able to live in Spain, your townhouse, the ease in your business, the clients that are coming through, like it all comes back to like you taking an energetic approach to how you're creating success. And at the same time, I think that this is where people, you know, create success, and when they don't have the awareness, which is totally normal because no one has taught us this, quite literally, but that's where we like experience inconsistent success, because we get to the place that we want to get to, like we get the money or the clients or the job or like the whole like win the lottery kind of story, and then the person who wins the lottery blows their money within a year because like they don't feel safe with that success outcome. And like we see that happen all the time. And to your point, like you have such awareness in your body where you're like, ooh, like this like new level of success doesn't feel safe yet. And it's like, of course it doesn't feel safe yet, because this is the first time that you're experiencing it. And I have the awareness that I can make it feel safe now, like that I can practice being safe in this space. And again, that is the work of energetic success, because you are creating a new energetic baseline of like, this is my new like foundation. Like my success is always this or something better. And unless we create that energetic baseline each time we create the success that we want, that's where we start to like, I don't want to use this word, but like fall back to where we were before, or create that inconsistency because we're not feeling 100% locked into where we're at. And again, like there's this energetic quality to all these different levels, whether it be the beginning where we're like looking at the saboteurs that are coming up, or the ways in which we, you know, are working so hard to create the success that we want. We're like, why is it not working? Or like, why am I still burning myself out? All the way to hitting those next levels and like creating the success, and then being like, oh, I'm not enjoying the success because now I'm just focused on it being bigger, or like it wasn't enough, and slash, or like maybe it doesn't feel safe where I've now hit. And so now I'm like stressed about like maintaining this new level, and like within each level. And that's why, you know, they say, another cliched term is like, it doesn't matter how much money you have, like there is stress and struggle at every single level. And we think that, like, for example, money is going to solve all our problems. And it's like, again, it's where are you creating the safety, and where are you finding the pockets of pleasure along the way, and like actually managing your energy and doing this energetic, or doing success from an energetic approach, because that is where you actually enjoy life. Like that sounds so basic, but it's true, because otherwise we're just kind of like going from like in the rat race from one thing to the next.
For me, just simply understanding that it's impossible to enjoy when we are stuck in a sympathetic nervous system on the physiological level. It's not some woo-woo kind of thing. It's just not accessible for us of how we're designed, right?
Yeah.
And something that also, like, I think is so prominent, or something so interesting to this to understand, because a trait that haven't a lot of people have, or maybe everyone, is that we are hardest on ourselves. Like we are our own worst critics. Also, just like you say, being in of like it's never enough. We're never arriving to the place. No matter what we do, can make us see what's wrong with us. Like, what am I doing that's not working? Because we are striving for all the external success, and we're just either, just like to say, running for the thing and not being present, not enjoying, and all of a sudden we're waking up, we're 65 and life has just passed us by. Or we have to feel empty. We're just not connected to ourselves. And I think that is to like just like summarize the whole fucking thing. Sorry for cursing. It is that it's all about connecting to ourselves, right? Connecting to our own authentic self, our energy, our needs, our what's going on inside us, being within, and not completely always distracting ourselves. That is shown in the world all around us by example, like all kinds of what is called addictions, and if it's the traditional like addictions, or if those new addictions, that's everything from Netflix, social media, right? It's all just a distraction to not face what's going on inside, and that's literally what's keeping us from everything we want, right?
Yeah, like you said, like disconnection from ourselves, from our inner energy, and on a path of misalignment, essentially, because we're feeling this lack of fulfillment. We're trying to fill that void by looking for it in the wrong places, as opposed to really, and I think this is the big thing, and then I think we need to wrap up now, but we could talk all day, but not willing to really sit with it and actually do the work around it, because it's easier to just ignore it, or to like band-aid it with something. And I mean, we can look at like a basic example of like even health, where like, just give me a pill and then I'll be down and then I'll be good. And it's like, how do we get to the root cause? Because like the energy, like if you think of even band-aiding something, like the energy underneath is still there, like the wound is still there, even if there's something on top, like that energy is still exuding from you, or like still pressing out of the wound. And so that's really what we want to look into. And that honestly comes back to you making that choice for yourself of like, I'm ready to do work. I'm ready to show up in this. And like, I'm ready to get uncomfortable.
So to take that decision every day, right? And that comes back to like the community, the people, the contagious join, and the yeah the we'll say the focus or the perception that we set around us, because we live in a busy world. It's going to be fed with a lot of information.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that that information that we are fed is focusing our minds, everyday life,
on the right things,
creating the life. If it's not, we're not gonna, right?
Yeah, 100%. So let's wrap up now. Like I said, we have so much more to talk about. We are going to have an Essence episode together, so we will have much more time to talk. But is there anything like final things you want to say or share before we close?
I think it's so powerful. Like simply like we talked about, like this need of control. A lot of us have that, or all of us, I think, have that of control, right? And it's this work. I mean, what it literally allows us to do is take back control and start controlling the controllables. So like everything becomes a growth opportunity. Like we get to meet suffering, which means there's always some meaningful suffering. I like that. And like being connected to ourselves, we're like guided every step of the way. And we're, as our authentic selves, simply just showing up with so much freedom and prosperity and purpose. And that's just what's behind the other side of this work, right? It's so worth it.
Yeah. You're like, it's not worth it. Done. Yeah, and to just put in like a little shameless plug at the end here, like you mentioned the importance of a container, and like for me that's what the whole purpose behind the Energetic Success Studio is. And I mean, like Rest for Success, the course that you were in, is in that course or in that studio as well. Like there's so much value in being in a space where you're constantly being supported and encouraged to come back. And like it's basically like, it's like when you go bowling, like the little walls that are up, and it's like, oh nope, the ball's coming back here, like, oh no, never mind, the ball's coming back there. And it's like, that is what a container does. Like that is what a community like the Energetic Success Studio is all about. And like that is my intention behind creating it, is like we want to be cultivating this not just as like a one and done kind of thing, but like as a constant practice. And when you have that consistent long-term support, and again, the studio, you get like, it's a membership, so you get to choose how often or how long you want to stay in it. And that's also you taking your healing and your transformation into your own hands, where it's on your terms basically, which is essentially like what your entire life is, but you're deciding what the terms are, and most of us aren't really taking that into consideration at all.
So good. Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Go there.
So good.
I'm sure it's the best, most amazing place. I mean, it's you guiding it, and you know I love you so.
Girl, thank you so much. I love you so much. Thank you for coming on live with me and for having the conversation. Honestly, like I was just like, this is gonna take its own path and it's gonna be amazing. And I'm gonna upload the whole live to YouTube. That's where it's gonna live. So if you want to catch the replay, I'll also post in my stories and you can go over there and watch it. And yeah, Mikaela will be back. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay.
Best
Bye,
for
girl.
today.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Bye.